do you make sure your marble is faster?
I don't think, I think it's all down to chance.
Yeah,
There's
I don't
not one
think you
that's
can do
specifically
anything about
faster.
it.
No way. I mean, I would shave mine down to make it, the least amount of.
No, that wouldn't make it faster. You gotta weigh it down.
Hmm.
I'm
We're
not sure
live,
that
right?
it's not all one guy.
Right?
Oh, are we on? Sorry.
That.
All right, now we're live.
Are we live?
We're live.
Okay, no more talk of marbles. All right, sorry about the little hiccup there, but we should be good. I'm gonna just double check that YouTube is going, unless Emily, you've verified that.
Yeah, everything's going, Twitter
Cool.
and YouTube.
Awesome, that means we can get started. Welcome everybody to the middle of week 4, the last week of Hack Money. It's been quite a ride these past few weeks. It's been super fun for us organizing, and I hope it's been a really good experience for everybody on the other side of it, working with mentors, working with your teams, and we're really excited to see what submissions are on Sunday. So let's dive into it. Today is the ecosystem support program is going to be giving an overview, just some of their processes, how they work, what they look for in projects. And from that team is Ken. I'll let Ken give a little bit more of his background and something about himself maybe. But we're really excited to have him here, and we appreciate him spending some time with the Hack Money crew. So Ken, why don't you introduce yourself, a little bit of ecosystem support program. Yeah, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Ken. I am not important, but I think it's really cool to have ESP up here. I'm going to start sharing my screen, but I think one of the really interesting things about the ecosystem support program is just how I guess widely known it is for its kind of broad and expansive levels of support. So what we kind of grew ecosystem support out of was the what was known as the Ethereum Foundation Grants Program. It sort of evolved into something that we feel better addressed the ecosystem's needs. A lot of the lessons learned from the grants program really showed us that funding obviously is important, but it's not the end all be all. It's not what makes a project successful. It's not what determines or what helps a project get to where it needs to go. What we realized is actually there's so much more in terms of compounding these effects. And so by kind of growing what we are able to do, we've realized that this is much better for the ecosystem, especially the teams that we work with. So I'll dive in. For today's presentation, I'm going to do a walkthrough of the ecosystem support program, kind of what our application looks like, what the inquiry form looks like, what does it even mean?
Real quick, so I should have touched on this at the beginning, but Ken's going to go through this presentation. If you have any questions or things that's unclear to you, either just write it in the chat or raise your hand through the toolbar at the bottom of Zoom, and then there'll be time for questions at the end, and Ken will be happy to answer any and all questions. Cool.
Yes.
Sorry.
More than happy. No worries. Do I have 20 minutes from now, or is it I have 12 minutes?
We have the full hour, so however much time you need.
Okay, cool.
I think this should be more than enough time.
Awesome. Cool. Ecosystem support program at Hack Money. I'm Ken. Not important. Okay, hold on. This is actually really hard because I'm on Zoom and PowerPoint at the same time. So like, it's giving me you're not clicking. All right, so how do we apply? We'll just dive right into it. It's actually super simple. Applying is right there, esp.ethereum.foundation. Really simple website. You can remember because we are ESP and the website, we're an Ethereum Foundation initiative. At the bottom of the website, you'll find two links, one for a specific project, and that's for teams and projects who have something specific, as this says, and you know what you want to do, right? I have a project, I have an MVP, I have an idea, I know what we need to be successful, I know what success is, or more like me, when you're in the kind of exploring possibilities phase, where I have this idea or have this project that I built at a hackathon, and I don't really know where to go with it. Going to exploring possibilities will kind of help us kind of craft the conversation around what that means, what are the next steps, what are potential next steps, what are avenues to really kind of explore within the Ethereum ecosystem. But what I want to kind of dive into while we have this beginning and framing is something that will kind of ring true throughout the rest of the presentation, right? Questions we ask when we identify goals and kind of going through these inquiry forms and proposals. We want to know precisely what we're trying to do here. What are we trying to accomplish? What do we hope to accomplish with these projects and these inquiries? What are examples of the outcomes? Is it a direct outcome of this of the output of this project? Is there something that's indirect? Is it a second order effect? Different levels of kind of thinking through what else can happen, what are the possibilities here, but accurate or precisely kind of listing out what will be done, what do we want to do, and what happens if X happens. What are we not looking for? This is a little more prescriptive. ESP no-nos. We will not pump or help sell your token. We won't invest in your quant or algo fund. Unfortunately, we're a nonprofit. These are not things that we want to do. And we also won't fund your not related to Ethereum business. We are still an Ethereum Foundation initiative. This is something that we want to do. We want to push Ethereum in the right direction. We want to make sure that Ethereum is advancing from things that we support. Something that is not Ethereum related is not within scope. Cool. So then, what do we actually offer? The goal of ESP is really to help identify and address the various needs from anyone and everyone within the community. We want to figure out what level of support we can provide, what resources can we allocate from anyone within ESP or the Ethereum Foundation. And this is a non-exhaustive list, right? We can do financial grants, project and idea validation, product and community feedback, project coordination, introductions, applicable credits and software. We are a AWS partner, so we can give out AWS credits and alternative funding sources. I always like to talk about funding as like it's like dating, right? You try to get to know each other, and it's a two-way street. What's right for us may not be right for you. What's right for you may not necessarily be right for us. For example, if you are a for-profit business, we don't limit that as we don't stop someone who is a for-profit or nonprofit from applying to ESP or trying to understand whether or not we can fund. We do both. But perhaps maybe grants aren't the way for your project. Maybe for you to be successful, you need VC funding, and that's something that we can introduce you to. Or maybe we're just not the right grant organization to give you a grant. It could actually go to Open Tech Fund. There's a flurry of other options that we can introduce you to. So for the next however many minutes, we're going to go through an actual application and try to kind of break down what all of this means. So for inquiries, this is where the conversation begins. Just so we're clear, this is an inquiry. It's not an application, right? We want to get to know you and your project. This is where we start a conversation. We make the questions on this form very vague, and we make this form itself very short. We do this all on purpose because we want to make sure that we're getting answers or enough answers for us to begin and have a conversation, But we don't want people to feel overwhelmed, and we don't want people to feel like they need to spend weeks on an application the same way this inquiry form is. A lot of this is framing as, what can ESB do for you? But if there's something that you see here from, say, the wish list, or you see something that we didn't list earlier that you want support for, or if there are things specifically you want to call out that you don't know the answer to, that's totally okay, right? This example we have here is an idea taken from hack.eth2.wtf. This is not a real project, but project name, that is whatever. The project description is pretty specific, right? It's exactly what it is that we built. It is something that I think is what success can look like, or at least success for the project, as our team determined, will be. And the profile itself is, we're just university students. It can be as simple as this to something way more specific to LinkedIn bios. This is everything we've done. In the past, I've built X teams, X companies, and had whatever exit. Anything that you feel is relevant to your inquiry. Some of the common missing pieces that we see a lot come from the next question of needs and challenges, right? So the challenges that we're looking for is specific to what your project is facing, right? What do you want help with addressing? What specific problems are you facing? What needs do you actually have? It helps to kind of contextualize within what stage your project is in. If you think about it as we're just an idea, then do we need project validation? Do we need community feedback? Or do we need just introductions? Like, we want to speak to one specific person, or we don't know who we want to talk to. These are all questions that we can help answer. We just need to know what that actually is. With this example, it's building off the same ETH2 application that I kind of put in myself. This is super short, but it is concise, and I kind of get to the point, right? We're full-time students. We don't have an internship anymore. So we really just want funding. If that's all you need, feel free to call it out. A lot of times we get, things that are like, the biggest constraint for us is, and then like, 2 more paragraphs about how financial hardship is an issue, but never actually calling out, we just need funding. That is super easy. That's totally fine. We're not going to reject you just because you say you need money, or we're not going to reject you just because you say you need something else. Like we want to be able to kind of go through this really quickly, kind of jump on a call and really figure out, what is it that you need and how can we help you? The other thing that is super helpful for us, and is commonly missing piece, is if you have already sought feedback from others, if you already have a discussion, link us to it. If it's on ETH Research, if it's on Reddit, if it's on Twitter, just send it to us. We'd love to know kind of what conversations have already been had, so we don't need to ask the same questions again. That saves you time, that saves us time, and I think it allows us to have a much better and easier flowing conversation on the status of the project and kind of what's next. So when we go through initial review, when this is all done, comes into us, we make initial contact. Someone from our team reaches out and says, "Hey, thank you so much for applying. Let's talk about it." We'll explore different pathways, right? So we'll just explore the different types of project support that we mentioned earlier. We'll also support or explore financial support if that's what you want. In that case, we'll move forward to a grant proposal if it makes sense. Or it can be a combination of the two. Doing one doesn't limit you from the other. We can do all or none. Some of the things we take into account when we actually evaluate is, we have conversations with you. We can call them interviews, but generally they're a lot less prescriptive. So we talk to the applicants. We also have peer review. This leans on the ESP's, the whole roster of advisors, people who we trust to kind of help with applications. And we try to make sure that anyone we speak to, any of the applicants also have full awareness of. But here we try to make sure this is a fully decentralized decision-making process, and that has reigned true from the beginnings of the EF grants program until today. If anything, we've actually expanded the team and expanded everyone who we kind of bring in from the community to ask for help with. So the next couple slides, we're going to go into the financial support option. And here we're really kind of diving into the project scoping, right? These are some of the questions we're going to ask, and for the what, specifically, we want to know, diving into the main concept of your project, what do you aim to produce, right? What is the outcome here? What is the output? The next question is why. Can you articulate how and why this is important? What is the impact of this project going to be? Specifically call that out. And then why this project? Are other projects going to address similar technical, are they going to address similar needs, or are they in the same technical area? What does this improve upon? How does this actually help that? And is this just a different approach? So then we start talking about project scoping of, what is the starting point? Where are we currently with the project? Is there a demo to show? Can we go somewhere with where we currently already are? What happens in the status quo, right? And then there's the ending point. Where do you want to get? What is the desired outcome or output here? What do you hope to deliver within the entirety of the grant scope? And then there's the required steps. What are the challenges you have to overcome in order to get to this point? What are the specific milestones that get us to this end point? So when we consider and we do these project scopes and timelines, we also think about the approach and the risks in all of this, right? Why do we approach it the way that we do? Why is this the way that we actually approach this problem? How is this the optimal approach? Or if it's not the optimal approach, why is it not the optimal approach? Why do we take it this way instead? Are there alternatives? And should we consider kind of different ways to approach the same problem even for your specific team, right? Maybe what you originally thought after speaking to a host of advisors, you realize this isn't the best way to do it. Maybe we want to rescope this whole thing. But every step of the way, we want to make sure that the milestones really get us to this kind of overall overarching goal. And we'll touch on that a little bit more, but the output is really kind of where we want to kind of drive towards. One of the big things that is commonly missed is the risk, right? What are some likely downsides and possible unintended consequences here? A lot of times we don't think about chilling effects, second order effects here. These are some of the indirect things that we referred to earlier. How do we make sure that we're limiting the amount of downsides that might come from any of the milestones or the overall output? I think commonly we enter a when we're building something, we're really excited by it. We have this tunnel vision of like, this is the ideal way and this is how we're going to get there. But we don't stop to think about what happens if we do this and all the other teams working on it, sort of fall behind, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's just something to call out. So diving deeper into the impact and goals. Beyond the specifics of what the project hopes to achieve, what are the larger goals, right? This is kind of at a high level. What impact can this potentially have, right? Who is going to be affected? What other projects will be affected? How critical is this work? Is this something that is of utmost importance and utmost urgency, right? Is this something that needs to really get done right now? Otherwise, Ethereum is going to fail. Or is it something that, if we push 6 months down the line, will be in the same time or place? what will it be? What will it bring to the ecosystem, right? Is it going to solve for something that's already difficult or inefficient? Or is what's currently, or is what you currently want to bring about impossible with what's already out there? Do you need to build the tools to get to this point where you can actually build a project off of? Or you're building the tools for someone else to build a project off of, or different projects off of, right? Are you unlocking different possibilities here? Some of the high level goals that we've kind of thought about. This is, again, a non-exhaustive list. Everything here is still intended to be grown. Everything that the ESP tries to do is really kind of exploring one path from different angles and trying to make sure that we have the flexibility and adaptability to really continue to grow what we see as a goal, or what we hope the ecosystem sees as important. Part of that is growing usage, growing community, the developer base, growing research capabilities, improving developer output, supporting R&D that makes tomorrow's Ethereum a reality today or maybe soon. But also upkeep is super important, right? Maintaining today's crucial projects. These are things that are important now and probably will be in the near future. So it's not always about advancing, but it's also maintaining. Yeah, that was the end of the presentation. Now it's time for a Q&A, but before that, would love for everyone to go on esp.ethereum.foundation. There is a wish list there. There's lots of really good applicant resources. Our Twitter is @EF _ESP. The wish list is non-exhaustive as well. So I think at the bottom, there's one that says, if you have something that's not here and you have something creative, apply anyway, right? The worst we could say is no, and who knows, right? We also have a brand new newsletter, so I'm just gonna shamelessly plug that in as well and sprinkle that in. So sign up to find out what we're doing. Yeah, that is all.
Awesome, thanks, Ken. That's great. I think one of the key things is that sometimes people, given that ESP's been around for at least a little bit, right? But they may not know actually what it does or what that acronym stands for. So it's really good to get the background and see actually your process to how you review projects and how you support them financially or otherwise.
Absolutely.
Did it have a different name previously, or was it just like the grant program?
Yeah, so this really kind of grew out of the EF grants program. With the kind of as the community really kind of grew in terms of just number and our research capabilities and kind of what Ethereum can do, it didn't make sense to just do grants, right? Even the grants that we did give, there was so much more that we did with the team. There's a lot of hand-holding, and a lot of times, what we realized was a huge help was really just providing them introductions, providing them external feedback, coordinating with other projects who are doing similar things. It actually is, for as beautiful as a community as we have, I think coordination is still pretty endemic as a problem for us. And just being aware of other projects, I think we see a lot more just because of the inflow of applications. But just everyone else that we do know, I think we sit in a very unique position to have the opportunity to be able to be connected with more people. So being able to bring people together in terms of any needs has been super helpful for, I think, a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely. Does anybody in the chat or on the stream otherwise have any questions directly for Ken? I know you're welcome to unmute and just ask away. This is a perfect opportunity to get direct access to some of the people running this program.
Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, Harsh.
Yeah, hi Ken. This is Harsh. You might not remember me, but yeah, I reached out to you guys in the starting of April, and actually you guys were the one who guided me through this hackathon. And because of that, that very rough idea of VPNs, it actually grew up to be in an MVP stage or in an alpha stage. I just wanted to know, can we reapply on Ethereum Foundation once we have the entire working product, which we intend to do before the hackathon finishes? So just wanted to know, my question was whether we can reapply once we went from an idea to a product stage, or if the idea has changed considerably.
Yeah, no, we definitely remember you. We actually, I was on the initial call, I think that Trent kicked off for Hack Money, and I was like, dude, that's harsh. We told him to do Hack Money. So I was really happy about that. I'm really happy that you stuck all the way through. And the answer is yes, you can definitely apply. We're like, the thing is, ESP is supposed to be open door. We definitely want you to reapply, and that was the original intention, for you to kind of go to Hack Money, test out the project that you were working on, and kind of go from there to come back.
Awesome, thanks.
Of course.
And really awesome to know that you guys remembered.
Of course, man.
Hi, Ken. Hello, everybody. I'm Pooja from the Ethereum Cat Herders team. I hope you guys remember me too. Okay, so about the newsletter thing, it's really good place to get more information about the ESP. I was reading one of those, and I found that, if I'm not mistaken, it's $2.5 million, over $2.5 million Q1 2020 grant is for the ESP. So my question here is, like, in this particular wave, we did not see a lot of non-technical working group. Wanted to know how open is ESP to support the non-technical group of the Ethereum ecosystem. And this question may be relevant to the marketing initiative, the community building, and other support.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. We're definitely open to it. There's very few things that I think we would say for certain that we're not open to. I think the trickiness here is that for community projects, we want to make sure that what is being done is going to kind of encompass kind of what is most impactful, and really kind of where the negotiations go is, and Pooja, I know you're privy to this, but just for everyone else, negotiations will take a little bit of time, just because we want to understand kind of what the intended impact is. How do we get there? How do we make sure that we're limiting kind of any indirect downsides that it might cause for other people, right? There's ripple effects. Even if we don't intend for it and we don't expect it, there are things that may happen. So, we're definitely open to it. We definitely want to see it. It's slowed down a lot just because of COVID and different other things. Like, originally, we actually had a bunch more community projects applying, but we've seen a huge kind of downturn of that. I think the applications right now for physical meetups don't really make sense for physical meetups, but obviously we're still doing sponsorships. We still want to see more events happening. We want to be able to support other people within the community. So the answer is yes, we still support it.
That's really good to know. I see a couple of bullet points in the wish list, which says that it supports community initiatives as well. But unfortunately, in this way, we could not find it. So I was just curious. Thank you for the answer, Ken.
Of course. I mean, even Hack Money, we're happy to support Hack Money, right?
Awesome. Looks like Doug is up next.
Hi, yeah. Thanks for the talk, Ken. Just a quick, I put the question there. It's basically, I probably, it wasn't the slides where I missed it. Does the project, I'm guessing the project needs to be something that betters the community. So I'm guessing if it's a technical project, it has to be open source. We had an idea to improve DeFi tooling around testing, that there's a lot of hacks in DeFi and things. You don't know really what's going on with your project until it hits mainnet. So we're thinking around a tool that improves that testing. But at the same time, we can make that open source, but can we, if it's viable as a business, can we make a platform around it afterwards? Is that a problem, an issue with ESP, or that's not a problem? I guess I just need sort of like a clarification what are like the position around the licenses, what the output needs to be, and what is the position around making business out of that?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a really good question. It's super specific, but I just wanted to call out that definitely needs to be open source. Like that is pretty much a bare minimum for projects that we fund and support. In terms of kind of the licensing and everything else, I think it's a little specific. So maybe you should inquire at esp.ethereum.foundation, and we can talk more specifically about the project, kind of what you're working on, kind of what your business model is, and then kind of go from there. Does that help?
Yeah, for sure. We'll do. Thanks.
Cool, of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I believe the ESP has supported companies or projects that turned into companies in the past, right?
Yes, we have. We have done that many times.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. It's super cool to see, something go from idea to fully fleshed out project to, a functioning business, right? It's really awesome to be able to kind of provide that, not just kind of the I guess initial funding or whatnot, but also being able to construct the best or the most conducive environment for success and for growth, being able to determine exactly what in say like a 3 to 6 month time frame, what success is going to look like, how do we best reach that point, who do we need in order to get there, how do we kind of combine the right tools and people to bring us to that point. I think it's so much fun to see.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the best outcome for specific projects, is that they move on from being just kind of a side gig to something that the people working on it can actually be supported by.
Absolutely, yeah.
Any other questions?
Hi, yeah, I'll jump in here and introduce myself. My name's Jesse. I'm with Yield Hero, and you guys probably don't remember me because I haven't been able to attend too many of the video chats, but I have seen you all in the Discord and have been really enjoying the program, working with Coder Dan on it. So my question for Ken is more about just one interesting point you made, which I think is interesting. You were saying how maybe certain applicants, you would find that they would be better suited maybe further down the road, say, I think you used the example 6 months down the road. Are there certain segments of or types of Ethereum projects that you're finding more interesting right now or more in demand at this particular time, whether it's DeFi or NFTs or maybe something else, maybe interoperability or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So in terms of trends for applications, we definitely are seeing an uptick in DeFi, right? I think this is just where the community is and kind of what I think everyone is really excited about. DeFi, NFTs, and obviously ETH2 is always top of mind. Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool to see and kind of get a good sentiment on where people want to drive either the NFT ecosystem towards or the DeFi ecosystem, right? So whether it's like a DEX aggregator or getting an NFT marketplace to do automatic atomic swaps for NFTs, or doing like a crypto voxels in person, or I guess like in CV kind of trading. Yeah, and there's a lot of really cool stuff coming through the pipeline for sure.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I think maybe a quick follow-up, like a tougher question would be, what would be an example of something that might come through the pipeline and you'd be like, that probably we're not there yet. Maybe it's certain things that would be better suited after ETH 2.0 or yeah, I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah, this is another good question. So there's, I think, a lot of things within ETH2 that we're really excited by, but it's hard to say that we need it now. I think a lot of times and I think this is again kind of going back to the same coordination issue, right? I think there's so many resources out there in terms of, I mean, there's the ETH2 like R&D Discord. There is the EWASM Gitter. There are a lot of community resources out there to speak to team leads, to speak to researchers like Danny or like Axic, like Christian. There's like, I think it's really accessible direct channels to stakeholders who are literally driving these roadmaps forward. And a lot of times we get projects that come in and maybe they haven't had the same conversation with Christian or Axic or any of the ETH2 I guess teams. That's totally fine. We're happy to make the introductions. We're happy to kind of draw that bridge just so that we can have these conversations, right? We want to make sure that we can every step of the way, we're not wasting resources, not just from the Ethereum Foundation perspective, but from the ecosystem perspective, right? We want to make sure that what you're building is going to be impactful for their team, and what they're building is going to be related to what you're building, right? You don't want to just build the same thing that they're doing. You don't want to do the same thing that the EWASM team is doing, right? You want to make sure that their spec is frozen. You want to make sure that what you're building is related to the frozen spec once it's frozen, or what you're building is going to help them freeze that spec, right? And that's super specific, but I do think that there's a lot in there where even if you're not sure, the worst thing you can do is reach out to us and we say we're not there yet. And we're more than happy to kind of bring you to the right channel so you can speak to the right people to maybe readjust that roadmap, or maybe kind of get to the right point where or have a conversation and literally they change their roadmap for your project. That's totally fine too, and that'd be really cool.
Anything else? Any other questions? I know we had a few people just joined recently, so maybe they had some questions or something that they had missed that they want clarification on. Let me double check the other the live streams and see if we have any questions there.
I told Trent that I wasn't going to do a stand-up bit. That's where I just dance and make jokes. Too bad I'm not funny.
I think we've got everything cleared out. I don't see any outstanding questions in any of the chats. Is that true? Anybody want to, they've been too shy, they want to jump in and ask a question specifically related? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Neron. I used to work at Consensus, work on Panballer right now. There was a period where it seemed like the Ethereum Foundation was really interested in like different ways of funding stuff, like contributed to Moloch DAO, did a lot of the quadratic funding experiments. Is that still an area where y'all are interested in supporting experiments?
Absolutely. So indirect funding is one of those things that I think we want to make sure that, in terms of where we can make the best decisions, it's that we know that there are things that we don't know, right? We're still funding Bitcoin and the various quadratic funding rounds, Moloch DAO as well. We want to make sure that all the decisions we make are going to lead to the best outcome for Ethereum, and we're going to kind of advance some subset forward. We know that we don't always make the best decisions, right? We try to make the best decisions given the information that we do have. We try to fund teams that we do feel our values aligned, but we don't necessarily move as fast as, say, like a Moloch DAO, right? We can't just send one tweet out there and be like, this is it, we're done in like 2 days. We are a Swiss nonprofit. We try to do things as fast as possible. But we also know that we are who we are, right? And we try to rely on this decentralized decision-making process of relying on advisors, bringing people in, having a conversation, and really trying to kind of flesh all that out. But that's not always what the ecosystem needs. That's not what things that Moloch has been able to fund that we haven't been able to fund. We wouldn't have been able to do all the things that they've been able to do. We wouldn't have been able to kind of drive it as fast as they've been able to do. Same thing with Gitcoin and Gitcoin grants, right? I think it's been awesome to see what they've been able to do. And not for nothing, like Panvala has been really cool to see. And we wouldn't be able to do what you've been able to do, right? So it's knowing that we have our own blind spots and understanding that maybe we're not the best decision makers. We try to be, we really do try to be, but it's not always the case, and I think admitting that, understanding that, and being able to do the indirect funding model helps us kind of alleviate a lot of that.
Awesome. I think your decisions are pretty good.
We try, but that's not what Twitter tells me.
That's your problem. You're taking the opinions of Twitter. Cool. I think that's it, unless anybody's been holding back and waiting till the last minute to ask. I'll start to wrap up, and then if anybody remembers anything last minute, feel free to jump in. So for Hack Money Logistics, let's see what we've got going on this week. Tomorrow is the final check-in for your cohorts. So make sure that you're checking Discord, you're checking in with ETHGlobal team members, make sure that you're on pace to submit something for this Sunday. Very exciting, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really grinding this weekend out as they kind of try to get those last features in. I know we'll be available over the weekend to try and kind of give support and make sure mentors are available. We'll be there as best as we can. So tomorrow is cohort check-ins. Thursday we have 2 hack feedback sessions. If you haven't registered, do that now. Please only register for one of the sessions. If you register for both, we'll probably bias to just trying to get as many unique participants as we can. Typically these get oversubscribed and we run out of time. So make sure that doesn't happen and you sign up early. We'll have a bunch of mentors there. So you'll have a 10-minute slot and you can present, get feedback on some of your project features, and just generally make sure you're on the right track. Or also if you have specific considerations or specific problems that you need addressed, like a Solidity question, we should also be able to address those things during those sessions. Again, there's 2 sessions on Thursday. Make sure to sign up for one earlier rather than later. And they're going to be really good. They're always really productive. And then Friday is the Uniswap AMA. They just launched V2, so make sure to sign up and register for that. That's going to be really interesting to chat with Hayden. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's it in terms of logistics. We sent out the judging guidelines and process via email and in the Discord too. So if you have any questions, please make sure to read that very thoroughly. There are some requirements. You're going to have to make a video for submission. And then there's just some other details in how you actually schedule yourself for judging. So make sure to read that. Oh, Ken,
shamelessly plugging. I'm just shamelessly plugging. Don't
yeah,
forget.
yeah, of course. I was going to let you wrap up of where people can best connect with the program and connect with you. So go ahead.
No, you got it. You can do it better than I can.
Oh, I'm an honorary member. All right. So if you have a project that needs funding or just guidance or coordination with other projects in the ecosystem, reach out to the Ecosystem Support Program at EF_ESP or sign up for the newsletter.
ESP.ethereum.foundation. That's the link. Super easy.
Yeah. And there's a great team there. They would love to help you make your project awesome, more awesome than it already is.
Dude, you crushed it, Trent. That was amazing.
I'm glad to help. All right. All right. A final 10 seconds for anybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I guess we can wrap there. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thanks,
Looking forward to
everybody.
seeing the hacks Hacks submitted on
Thanks,
Sunday.
Ken. Thanks, Ken, and thanks, Monik.
Thank you, Ken.
See you
I'm
guys
sure I'll see you all again soon.
Thank you,
Yep.
everyone.
Okay.
See you
Have
in
a
the
good day.
Discord.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
See ya.